Let's turn our attention to the wide receiver position. I said earlier with Munch, I think that was one of the more disappointing positions. If quarterback was 1, wide receiver was 1A, and there's a lot of reasons for it. They need to upgrade. Let's take a look at some of the names on the wide receiver position that are available. And there's some levels here. I don't think you're going to get a Devontae Adams. I certainly know you're not getting an Odell Beckham Jr. He cured that. When you look at this list, who are some guys that intrigue you that you think might fit?
I mean, look at a guy like Chris Godwin or Zay Jones, even Emmanuel Sanders being kind of that veteran leader within that room. But that's a guy that the Buffalo Bills don't even need right now, honestly. So if you're going to look at this wide receiver list, will this team even invest that much money? They may go get kind of a second tier wide receiver off that free agent list, but they're not going to invest a lot of money because you've just had 2 guys wrapping up $30 million in cap. And they feel pretty good. And even Andrew Berry said this week that they feel pretty good about where their cap situation is at. I don't see that the high-end guys, and even if you mention a guy like Chris Godwin, he's probably going to be a guy that whether Tampa Bay is able to keep him or he goes somewhere else, he's going to garner a good amount of money, but he's also been hurt. It's the same thing with Baker Mayfield. Once these guys start getting hurt, they stay hurt. So if you address the wide receivers, but you only do it one way, free agency or draft, and you got guys that have that injury history, now you still have those question marks about a position that you're coming into an offseason where that is the biggest question mark. What have we seen from this front office since they started with Andrew Berry coming in as the actual GM? All the question marks, all the needs, or the main need that fans talk about, media talks about throughout the year, they end up addressing that, whether through a free agency or the draft, and they do it a way that fits for this team or the way that they want this organization to run.
Yeah, and I would say some of the names to look for on that list would be like a Cedric Wilson, guys that are 3 or 4 wide receivers in pass-heavy offenses like the Cowboys. Kirk would be another one. Christian Kirk may get a little bit bigger of a deal than they want to do. Sanders is intriguing. Emmanuel Sanders is a guy that played in the 49ers, so he knows what the system is for wide receivers. That's a reason that he intrigues me. So I think you're looking at guys like that, bigger targets. They're not going to be the super names that blow everybody away, but you don't need that. You need guys that will get separation and can get open in this offensive system.
The guys you want to target, if you're going to get the guys that are going to have a bigger impact on here, you want good guys in your locker room through free agency. But in terms of wide receiver, they need to address that. In my opinion, they need to address that through the draft. And there are plenty of guys, whether we are Homer fans here in Ohio, and we look at the 2 Ohio State wide receivers in Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. You also have the dynamic duo down at Alabama. And I know Jamison Williams is with the torn ACL. But a team is going to take a chance on him because he is a first-round talent. And you have Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, who's another guy that a lot of people are looking at. So there is a deeper wide receiver class, especially at the front end of the first 3 rounds, where this team can address that and get some playmakers, kind of similar to the blueprint a little bit with what Cincinnati is doing and why they're so successful. They just so happen to get a great wide receiver in Jamar Chase, who has already played with their quarterback, their franchise quarterback down there in Cincinnati.